If you haven't already done so, please watch the How to Register video, which is included in the module, as you must register with UCAS before you can begin your application. Before we get into the application itself, you should be aware that there is a textual version of this guide, which you could download from the UCAS module in Prep for HE. You may find it useful to listen to this video before you begin and then consult the textual guide to help you as you go along with the application. If you would like to complete your application all in one sitting, or most of it all in one sitting anyway, there's some information that might be useful for you to gather before you begin, and those items are listed in the Prep for HE module as well as in the textual guide. So those include a list of all the units you'll be undertaking this year as part of your SWAP program. You can get that from your class tutor. Your list of 5 university course choices. Your choices must come from the SWAP progression routes, and you'll need the institution code for each university and the course code for each of your 5 choices, which you can get from the UCAS website. There's a choices worksheet, which you can download from Prep for HE, which you may find useful. You may want to share that with your class tutor so they can have a look at your choices. Although it's not compulsory, you will be asked to include your Scottish candidate number, the SCN, which you can find on any old SQA certificates you may have, or you can contact SQA and ask them. Finally, you'll need your completed personal statement. This should be written using a separate word processing software, such as Microsoft Word, so that you can check your spelling, grammar, punctuation, and so on. You can do your word count. You don't have to have your personal statement ready before you start. You can maybe do the profile section and include all your choices before you actually get your personal statement written. That's fine. Okay, so let's make a start on completing the application. If you have registered and confirmed your account, then you will need to go back to UCAS and log in. Choose your preferred login details below and click on Sign In. So when you log back in after you've registered, this is the page you see. This is what UCAS call the hub. So the hub is a page full of tiles, and each of the tiles leads to particular content. Some of this content may be useful. Some of it will be irrelevant to you. You don't have to use all of it. What we're going to look at mainly will be the application form, which is linked in the upper left-hand corner under your applications. There's a big start button there to start your application. So that's the main part. That's really your application. This is all supplementary material to help you with your decision making. It's also some adverts for Tesco and things like that. So take what you like and leave the rest with regards to the content you find on the hub. Some of it you might find useful, and you're welcome to use it. Just also keep in mind that some of this is meant for school leavers. Okay. All right, so we're going to go into your applications and click on Start. If you're presented with this screen, it's asking what type of application you'd like to make. Your response will be undergraduate, unless you're going for conservatoire, which is going to be a very rare occasion. You're going for undergraduate. So just click on that. And you'll face a series of questions. Are you applying from a school, college, or center? The answer is yes. You want to link to a school, college, or center using a buzzword. So there's information there about the buzzword. Basically, if you use the SWAT West buzzword, as you should do, then you are giving your permission to share your application with your school, college, or center, and they can support you through the application process. So it's really important to link your application to SWAP. Your college will also have its own buzzword, but you must not use the college buzzword. You must use the SWAP buzzword in order to be properly associated with SWAP. So we're going to type in the SWAP buzzword for this year. Click on Save Buzzword, and you'll get a confirmation page. Your buzzword is for Scottish Water Access Programme West. Is this correct? The answer is yes. And another confirmation, you have linked your application to Swap West. Now select your group. So this is done by clicking on the little down pointing arrow. It's very little. And then from this list, you'll scroll through and find your college and your program. And then click on Save. Now, this is the application form. We finally reached it. And you can have a scroll through there and look at what is on offer. In the upper right-hand corner is your personal ID number. You may need that, so it's a good idea to take note of it. The panel up at the top is your application status, and this will change as you work through the application form itself, and you'll see a progress shown here for your choices, for your profile, and for your personal statement before finally the review and submit button will light up for you. Below that, we have the Your Choices section, and that's the courses and universities that you're applying to, and you can add up to 5 choices to your application before you send it off. And then we have your profile. So this is kind of the bulk of the application, and we'll go through that briefly together on the video, but there's also the textual guide has step-by-step support for each of these sections, just to keep you right in case you come across something you're not too sure how to answer. If you check that guide, it should help you. And then finally is your personal statement section. Okay, so we're not going to start with choices. We're going to start with your profile. We'll start with your personal details. And you'll notice when you mouse over the tiles, you get this progress here, start this section. None of this has been started yet. After you have completed a section, you'll see it has changed. The status has changed. So we'll go through there and we'll type in some information. I'll just make some stuff up. Obviously, you're going to enter very carefully and correctly. You could put in previous names if you've ever been known by another name or preferred name, your gender. And this little box is worth noting. Mark this section as complete. You must complete all mandatory fields in this section before you can mark it as complete. And a mandatory field is one with the red star. So if you do that and you're happy with your answers and you're ready to move on, then you can put a tick in that box. You must have a tick in the box for every section before you can send your application off. So at this point, you can click on Save this section. You get the confirmation. You get a tick mark. And now you can either click on the next section on the left-hand column, or you can go to the bottom and click on Next to the next section. Either way, doesn't really matter. If you prefer to go back to your application overview, you can do that with the link in the upper left-hand corner. And we're back on the hub page, and you'll see here your status has changed. For the personal details, we finished that one, so it's now green. If you are working on a section and you're interrupted, you're not able to finish it, but you save your progress. So let's just say I start that and then I save the section. So I haven't marked it as complete. Let's say I got interrupted, but I can save my progress. And if you go back to the application overview, you'll see that the contact and residency details section is currently in progress. So that way you know where you left off, basically. So you can go back into that and fill in the details properly. And once you have them all filled in, you can mark the section as complete, save the section, and move on to the next, and so on. You get the idea. Okay, so back looking at the Your Profile section, there are 9 tiles here, 9 sections that you need to complete, and most of them are quite straightforward. For example, personal details section, you're asked to give your name, your date of birth, and gender. In the contact details section, you're asked for your mobile phone number, your postal address, and so on. There are some that are a little bit trickier. So, for example, education, we'll go through that together just to make sure that you know what to do there, because it's quite important. But the rest of it, I think, is quite straightforward. It's worth noting that you can complete the sections in any order. You can pause at any point and log out if you need to, and your progress will be saved. You can then log in and resume your application at a later date. So what we're looking at here is a section that has been completed, marked with the section complete, a section that has been started but not finished, so that's in progress, and then some that haven't been started yet. And once they're all marked as complete, they're all green with a tick mark, then you can move on and do your choices, add choices, and then you can add your personal statement. So most of the sections in your profile area of the application form are pretty straightforward. We need to take a look at a few of them a bit closer, though, just to make sure that you keep yourself right. One of those is your contact and residency details section. And just so you're aware, the universities will check your residence status, as they'll base your fees on that. In Scotland, for the majority of students who have not previously received SAS funding and where they have been resident in Scotland for at least 3 years, tuition fees are usually paid by the Scottish Government. If you have not been resident in Scotland for at least 3 years, immediately prior to the commencement of your university course, or if you have previously received SAS funding, we strongly recommend that you contact SAS to ascertain your fee status before you apply. You should note on this page that you cannot directly edit your email address. Instead, if you need to change your email address or password, you would need to click on the upper right-hand corner of the page where you first signed in, and then choose the page you need from the menu there, which is not the most obvious thing, but that's where you can go to change your password, change your email, set your preferences, and so on. So on this page, you just input your UK address, and remember when you do that UCAS is going to use this information to contact you right up through September of next year. So if your address changes before you begin university, you should make sure you update your address on UCAS. The next section to take a look at is the education section, and this one will require a little bit of time to get this right, and it's very important that you follow the instructions carefully. Before you begin this section, you'll need to get the complete list of units from your class tutor. In most cases, that'll be around 18 units, sometimes 16, sometimes 21. But the list of units that you're going to do all year long as part of your SWAP program. Each unit has to be entered individually. So the first thing to do, though, is to add your place of education. Remember that the universities will consider your application based on your SWAP qualification. So the only relevant place of education you must enter is Scottish Wider Access Program West. If you wish, you may add another place that you've attended in the past, but it is not necessary. So we have to add SWAP. So we click on the Add Place of Education, and we just type in Scottish Wider Access Program. And as you begin to type, it'll come up, and you can select from the drop-down. Make sure you select West. You can skip over the exam center number. Your start date will probably have been August or September of the current year, and your end date will likely be June of the next year. Your type of study is full-time. And the question, do you or will you have any qualifications from the center, should be answered as yes. And that's it. It's a short form. Click on Save. And now you have SWAP in your education section. The next step is to add qualifications to the education section. So just click on the Add Qualification button. And then from this selection under Pick Your Qualification Type, you'll want to pick up Scottish Qualifications. That'll take you down to a short list, which is provided by your school or college. You should see National Units Scotland there, and you could just click that. But if you don't see it, there is a search box just above it, and you could type in National Units Scotland to pull up the list. If you click on National Units Scotland, that takes you to the next page where you have to type in the first of the units that you were given. So that's a list of units you get from your class tutor, and you have to key them in one by one. So that could be up to 21 units, and you have to do them one by one and enter the details of each unit: title, unit code. The qualification date will be June of next year, whatever that year is for you. Awarding organization is SQA, and then the level refers to the SCQF level. It's usually 5 or 6, and your result is always pending. When you're finished with that, you can save qualifications, or you can save and add another, and then carry on with your list. When you're finished, let's just pretend we're finished so you don't have to watch me do this 18 times. When you're finished, you can click on Save Qualifications, and that'll put them all on a list. So you should have a full list here of all of the units you're doing this year. In most cases, that'll be between 16 and 21 units. Once you've finished inputting your units, you could add another place of education if you wish, but it's not required. If you do that, you would need to add the type of qualification and input the individual subjects and so on, just as we did for SWAP. But SWAP is the most important one. Here you're asked for your SCN number. It's not required, but if you have it, you can input it. You can ignore the ULN number, and you could skip both of those if you want. They're not mandatory. And then when you're finished, you can mark the section as complete and save it. So for the rest of the sections here, for the next few anyway, they're really quite straightforward. On the employment section, you add employment, you put in the company name, your job title, your address, your start and end dates, and whether it's full or part-time. So not much to that, and there's no place for you to add additional information. And indeed, you can skip this section if you wish. You don't have to input any employment. If it's not relevant to your application, you don't have to include it. But you do have to mark the section as complete. For nationality details, as you make your selections here, you may notice that the page will change. So you might have more on your screen, depending on what your response is. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. On the supporting information page, again, just straightforward questions. Have you ever lived or worked in the EU? And so on. So just read those and answer them correctly. Once you've finished with the section, mark it as complete and save it. So finance and funding section, again, for the vast majority of applicants, students who have been resident in Scotland for at least 3 years prior to the commencement of the course and who have not previously received SAS funding would just select the UK, Channel Islands, Isle of Man, or EU Student Finance Services. And then under Student Support Arrangements, you'll select the name of your local city council. This will be the local council that your home postcode is in. So just scroll through the list and find the correct one. Okay, so that really completes the profile section. The next thing is the personal statement, but we're going to leave that for now and return to the application overview. You'll see a progress report up at the top. And the section we're interested in now is the Your Choices section. So your choices are the university courses to which you wish to apply. If you haven't already done so, you should download the UCAS Choices worksheet from the Prep for HE module to help you gather all of the necessary details before you begin. It never hurts to have another set of eyes to look over your choices, so you should also maybe give a copy of the worksheet to your class tutor before you submit your application, just so that they can check that you've made sensible choices. Your position regarding your choices depends on your SWAP student agreement, which you agreed to during the induction at the beginning of the year. You can always go back and read the student agreement anytime. Just revisit Prep for HE induction modules. The student agreement for humanities, medical studies, and science advises you to choose 5 different choices. We recommend that you try to spread your options across different universities as well, at least 3 different universities, 4 or 5 if possible. For nursing, though, and allied health professions, your choices are more limited, so you'll be more focused on just 3 or maybe 4 choices. If you don't follow the guidance, if you apply to only 1 uni or 2 unis, then you are at greater risk of being in the unfortunate position of having no offers or limited options for progression to university. So take heed, think carefully, and make a good selection of choices to make sure that you have options when the time comes. It's also worth noting that some universities operate what they call a faculty entry system or a school or college entry system, where the entry requirements for multiple courses in the same family are the same for all the courses in that section. So if you do apply to more than one within the same faculty, then you're basically wasting choices because you could get in with just one choice and then use your other choices for different unis. In some cases, particularly the University of Strathclyde, you must not make more than one choice for social science. They have a rule: if you apply to more than one social science subject at the University of Strathclyde, they will reject all applications. So be careful. Another thing to note is that you may enter your course choices in any order. They're going to automatically be arranged alphabetically anyway, and you won't be able to rank them or order them until it comes time to choose your firm and insurance, which you won't do until around March of next year after you've heard back from all of your applications. Before you get started on adding your choices, it's worth triple checking your course codes. You can get course codes from UCAS. You can find them on the UCAS website. And it's worth making sure that you're looking at the right course. Sometimes a course may be offered in different faculties or groups. Psychology is the prime example because it is one of the most popular subjects. It is offered in the family of arts subjects. It's also offered as a social science, and it's offered as a science. So you must pick the code that corresponds with your program. If you are on an access to science program, you have to pick a science code for your course choice. If you're on the access to humanities or social science, then you must pick an arts or social science code. If you pick the wrong code, then the universities will likely reject your application out of hand and the decision can't be reversed. So it's very important to check your course codes are correct, read the progression routes carefully, and ask your class tutor or swap if you have any doubts. So let's look at the Add Choice screen. It is quite short, not much to it. You're going to input the name of your university that you want to make as your first choice. It doesn't matter what order, but let's just say 1, and going for the ecology route. And whatever you type in, you're going to see everything with that subject title in it. So all of the joint honors degrees that are possible will be listed. So this is, we have to be really careful that you're clicking the right thing. Double check on the UCAS website and check the progression routes to make sure that you're actually putting in the right one. So if you're on the arts humanities, for example, there's the psychology social science, that's C802. But there are other codes at the same universities that correspond to arts or science, and you want to be sure you're picking the right one, okay? The location will default depending on what you've chosen, where it's available. Your start date will be September of the next year in most cases, and you only need to provide further details if you've been instructed to do so by your chosen uni. Your point of entry should be left blank. You only use that if you're asking for advanced entry, really, and you shouldn't be doing that, so just leave that blank. The question about living at home has to do with whether or not you need information about student accommodation. So if you are going to be living in your own home, then just click yes and then click save. And your choice will show up beneath the Add Choice button. That's one. Now you have to add 4 more. Once you've added all your choices, well, you just go back in and add a choice and do it again. Once you've added all your choices, then you can mark the section as complete. So the last thing is your personal statement. You may have this prepared already. You may be ready to just paste it in. If not, then you need to get working on that. We do have a guide on the personal statement that you might want to consult before you get started. In the Prep for HE UCAS and Personal Statement module, there is a video, a couple of videos, and some comments from students as well, and some top tips to help you out with the personal statement. So once you have your personal statement ready to go, you can copy it from your Word document and just paste it into this space. Your completed statement has to be at least 1,000 characters and no more than 4,000 characters. And they also count a maximum of 47 lines. So that's something to be aware of, that it's not just the characters, it's also the number of lines. This is just nonsense. So the count goes up as you are adding text to the box. Keep an eye on the characters used down at the bottom. If you see 4,000 here, you need to check that the bottom part of your statement hasn't gotten lopped off. That can happen sometimes. If you exceed it, though, you'll get a red warning. And you'll need to go back and fix it. So once you're happy with your personal statement, let's just pretend that's a very good personal statement, then you can save and preview it. If you get interrupted and you want to come back and look at it later, you could save as a draft, but we're going to save a preview. And we get a confirmation that it's been updated. It tells me also we've used 46 of 47 lines and 3,677 of our 4,000 characters. There's a warning here about plagiarism. Make sure your personal statement is your own work. We'll carry out checks to verify your personal statement is your own work. It is super important that it is your own work. This is your best opportunity to tell the universities about your motivation, your commitment, your suitability for your chosen degree courses. So you really want to make a good impression, and it would make a very poor impression if you had copied from someone else. They will catch it and they will take action against you, and the consequences are pretty severe. So you don't want to go down that road. You want to make sure you're writing it entirely yourself, and don't be tempted to borrow from maybe personal statements you found online or something. Once you're happy with it, then you can mark the section as complete. Click on Save, and we can return to the application overview. And that's the point at which you get the Ready to Send button. You click on Ready to Send, and you get a chance to review everything. All the information you have input will be on display. Obviously, we would have lots more units here, and you would have at least 3 or 4 choices under your choices section instead of just one. But once you've got all that in there, then you can accept and proceed. If you say, oh, wait, I've only got one choice, I need to add one, you can always edit. Any of the sections can be edited. Likewise, if you spot something in your personal statement that needs fixed or information you wanted to add or change, you can just click on the Edit button. Otherwise, if you're happy, accept and proceed. You have a series of screens to go through, just like marketing preferences. Do you want them to get in touch with you? And if so, how do you want to be contacted? You have terms and conditions, which you should read carefully. You are entering into a contract here, and it's worth taking your time and reading about what is required of you, what your responsibilities are, your obligations, to make sure that you do meet them, so that if you're made an offer, then you can accept it. Once you've done that, you read and understood the terms of use, and you're willing to accept them, then you can click Accept and Proceed. And the final stage is your Pay and Submit. The amount you will pay depends upon when you're applying, as it changes from year to year. The cost covers up to 5 choices, so you pay the same amount no matter how many choices you included in your application. You have to complete payment in order for your class tutor to attach a reference, and there are lots of people in your class who will need a reference, so time is an issue. It's very important you meet your college's deadline for UCAS. Even though the hard deadline for UCAS isn't until January, you are likely to be asked to do the application before we leave for the winter break in early December. So you'll need to have it all finished so your class tutor can attach references, college staff can check that it's all correct before it gets sent away. You will get an email confirmation from UCAS once they've received your application. If you haven't heard anything from UCAS by the time we return from the break in January, then speak with your class tutor and just double check that everything is okay. All going well, you'll have confirmation back quite quickly, and then it's just time to wait on the responses. If you want to know more about what happens after the UCAS application gets sent away, please download the textual UCAS application guide that is in Prep for HE10, and that will give you a bit more detail about what's going to happen and what you need to do once you start hearing back from your university choices.